Alright guys, welcome back to another build video. This one is going to be following Luna as a DPS Descendant. It's kind of unique to play her. She has more of a rotation compared to pretty much every one of the Descendants that we have so far, which makes her more interesting and less brain dead than pretty much everything else. But most people seem to either love her or hate her, and it seems like most people hate her rather than love her. I don't think she's that bad. I think it's just some people don't like how punishing her gameplay can be compared to pretty much everything else. Why play something that you risk punishment when nothing else has that same kind of cost to reward factor to it? And let's be honest, Luna's reward isn't that great. If you see over on the left side, we are playing with maximum buffs that we get from our Transcendent module. And with our buffs at maximum, we have about 100% crit. Oh, I just fell down. We get up to 99 point something percent crit as long as we have our buffs maintained at maximum for the entire duration that we're fighting. It makes our skills do quite extensively more damage. Our red one that we have right here is what stacks up our crit rate. Our blue right here gives us crit damage, and then purple right here gives us skill power modifier. Every one of them gives us a base 26% increase. So it's a 26% base crit increase, 26% skill power, and 26% crit damage increase. Let's go ahead and take a look at our modules right here. Alright, going over the mods really quick, we're using 3 crit mods in Insight, Concentration, and Front Lines. We don't need to use emergency measures because we don't need the added crit rate that this provides. Instead, we can switch it out for something like Multi-Talented. Multi-Talented is going to give us a 30% increase to all attribute damage whenever we use a singular ability. We may be doing non-attribute, but it still counts for Multi-Talented as an attribute, so we'll pretty much have 100% uptime on our crit, or 100% uptime on the Multi-Talented skill effect of 30% increased damage, which is fantastic. Using skill expansion and amplification for control. To make sure that we have as much range as possible. You could switch out amplification control for maximized range. Personally, I don't think it's worth losing 20% skill power modifier for using this. If you're farming, it's definitely something that you can do, but either way, this gives me plenty for what I'm using it for. We're using maximized power, which is 96.1% power modifier and increased cooldown. With Luna, you don't really have to worry about having a longer cooldown as long as you're not messing up your skills. Whenever you're using your skill, like if you end up like missing the note, you'll trigger the cooldown, which can be a pain in the ass. But as long as you're hitting things on beat, you're fine. It's all about the rhythm, right? Even when you're shooting, if you're missing and not hitting things, you only lose mana and you don't have to worry about the cooldown still. So it's only when you're actually activating your skill that you have to worry about it, which you're not going to be hitting that much unless like you're purposely trying to trigger the passive ability to do the little dance thing. So yeah, cooldown's not much of an issue. Don't have to worry about it, which is why I prefer to use maximize power. You could also use maximize skill if you wanted to. This is likely preferable over non-attribute specialist. The reason I'm not using it is because for farming, you're basically spamming your skill the entire time, so you're much more prone to eventually missing a note. So it's more convenient to just have non-attribute specialist. It's not worth the 6% increase to skill power, in my opinion. What else are we doing? We're using increased HP. I'll likely end up throwing on another HP mod here, or maybe like Iron Defense for the extra defense and skill power. Not entirely sure yet what I want to do with it. That's why I'm making the build now instead of later. Right here, the core setup is pretty much great for all content. I've been doing a lot of testing, doing like farming and doing a bunch of bossing to see kind of like what direction I want to take it. I haven't particularly had any issue with survivability with just the 1 HP mod, seeing as how we're sitting at 8,000 health and 1,800 shields. You could, if you wanted to, run increased shields instead of like increased HP. And if you have enough shields, you could basically become immortal with Luna because she heals herself. If we look over here at all of our skills, all 3 of our skills are going to give us an MP recovery and shield recovery by 50% whenever we trigger our passive, which is the little bar at the bottom. You can see going up every time we use a skill. So every time we maximize that bar, we're going to heal 50% mana and heal 50% health. Right now, with all the mana recovery that I have, I basically have infinite mana and can spam my skill as much as I want to. If you were to use a bunch of maximized shield, you could potentially do the same thing with your health and make it so you're healing yourself every single time. It's just you have much less of a pool, so it's kind of just depends on how you want to go with it. As for our offset, we are using the Slayer offset with a bunch of MP recovery and MP focused substats. MP is super important for Luna just for a quality of life aspect. Whenever we're using our ability, as I showed, we're going to heal 50% MP. The MP recovery modifier also affects that, and then having max MP is also going to provide us with more MP to recover. I find it preferable to play it this way just because I like to be able to spam my skills when I need to forcibly trigger my passive, or if I'm running around in circles doing like the defense missions, it's just more convenient. Realistically, if you wanted to have like the best defensive stats, you'd want your double HP with resistance on your auxiliary. You'd want defense, resistance on your memory, so on and so forth. But I find the quality of life from having MP rolls and everything much more sustainable. For our reactor, we are using Colossus damage and non-attribute skill power boost. You could run crit damage, it'd probably be better than non-attribute skill power boost here. You don't need crit rate because we are already sitting at such a high amount of crit. If you wanted to make it so you didn't ever have to use your second ability for the crit rate, you could theoretically use the additional crit rate mod and emergency measures and then get crit rate on your reactor and still be sitting around like maybe 70 to 80% crit, so you can cut out an entire skill from the rotation and just use your the blue one and the purple one. It could make the playstyle a lot more comfortable, but that's just kind of personal preference at that point. I personally want to just have 99% crit and just go from there. I don't find rotating all three of them to be that bad. But yeah, that about wraps it up for my build for Luna. Go ahead, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and let me know who you want to see next. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.